the ropes. My name is Kane Super Snooker. I got my own little after all. Call me the faded saint. And it is one hell of a month in wrestling. First, we're definitely going to trek back to Wrestlemania. We are deeply sorry, folks, about the late podcast for this one. That's because this is a very special podcast, which we'll get way into later about what's going down and how everything's happening here. But we are going to talk a recap of WrestleMania, what we thought of it, some of our favorite matches, some of the things we wish didn't happen, but it happened, and pretty much go from there. What's the brand going to be like going forward, especially when we got Money in the Bank rearing right around us very soon. Everything happening as best as we possibly could. But first things first. Kami, how you doing, baby?
I'm already drinking.
Oh, boy. I guess you're not taking the news all too well.
Well, it is what it is. We apologize for service interruption. It's been a month here at Faded Saint Presents, but we're here now. We're here to talk. And, we know how late we are, but, it is what it is. But we're gonna be doing things a little bit differently because we're kind of way out of sorts. So we're just gonna talk about what we want to talk about. We're gonna talk about the highlights of WrestleMania weekend, and we might as well start off with probably the best pay-per-view of all WrestleMania weekend. And no, we're not talking about we're not talking about the G1 Supercard Madison Square Garden, where apparently Enzo and Cass came back.
What?
Oh, you didn't hear about that? Yeah, like the Gorillas.
Oh, I did. I just can't believe we're talking about
it. Fuck Enzo. Like,
took an oath.
I don't understand why people keep giving him jobs.
We took an oath.
But we did have Takeover New York that happened. And, I mean...
Oh, boy.
Takeover New York, I mean, again, like, what is WWE to do? Their trainer brand is better than their actual brands, and they consistently give us great stuff. I mean, whether it be Aleister Black and Ricochet's last match, Velveteen Dream and Riddle.
Great match.
There was the women's match, but neither of us liked it.
Yeah, well, that's because we are now kind of not too happy with Shayna Lesnar at this point, because that's starting to feel like to me. But I can assure you this much. One thing's definitely unique about this particular pay-per-view is that it wasn't Saturday night. It was a Friday night because they didn't want to avoid what was going to happen Saturday night with the
Madison Square Garden show.
But they also, in return, had a very good... personally, I love the Hall of Fame, so that's why I enjoyed watching it this year. Especially the DX thing was hilarious and well-deserved. But other than that...
you know what wasn't hilarious? Douchebag who tried to jump Bret Hart.
Oh, my God! You totally just reminded me! Oh, man. It was... Oh... I was watching it live, and all of a sudden, some random dude with a Rastafarian hat just jumps in the ring. Screen fades to black, goes to the audience the next shot. They must have forgotten that shit's still going down the ring because they poured the wrong camera that was still pointing at the ring, and it was like 50 people in a pile up in the right-hand corner of the ring afterwards, and they went right back to the audience again. And I'm like, what is going on? I had to turn to online sources to find out that some jerk came in, literally tackled the legendary Bret the Hitman Hart to the ground after just coming out of remission for cancer, by the way. Go to the floor. Natalia also falls with him because he pretty much is a cushion because, God damn it, the man can't take bumps right now. He can't take bumps, period.
No, he's a cancer survivor. He's a stroke survivor.
Yeah. And so when that happens, almost everybody that was ringside literally jumped to the attendants. Especially, my main shout out to Ronda Rousey's husband. He got in there first.
Yeah, Travis just peppered the shit out of the guy. Dash freaking uppercutted the dude.
Yeah,
like
it was insane. It's like
Lashley was looking to go kill him.
I would have to say that was probably a big highlight for the whole WrestleMania weekend, just that alone.
There are two matches that we need to actually talk about as far as Takeover is concerned.
Oh, yeah.
The first one being, it was the UK champion, the longest reigning modern champion, Pete Dunne, versus the ring general, Walter. Now, I've seen Walter before. Was this your first time seeing Walter?
Yes. But he was good.
Ow. Like, you could see the welts from Walter is, for those of you who don't know, Walter has a reputation. He is known to chop a person so hard that it just like he leaves his imprints on them.
Agreed.
So, yeah, it was hard hitting. It went a lot of ways. Like, it was just brutal. Like, Pete coming back against the obviously bigger opponent and just going over and over. There were points in this match that I actually thought Pete was going to win. But
yeah, it was very convincing.
In the end, your winner and new United Kingdom's champion, Walter. I hope that a part of this is Pete Dunne's going to be graduating to one of the main rosters. Out of everyone who's been around, he deserves it.
Yeah, and then of course my favorite match was definitely the main event match for the title. It was one of the best matches I could possibly ask for out of Johnny Gargano.
Do you mean WCW Triple Crown winner Johnny Gargano?
Yeah, can you fill me on that? What does that mean? Because I took that as WCW. I don't know.
No, that's exactly what I said. I said WCW.
Yeah, but is that the WCW?
Well, here's the thing. This is where that joke comes in, and we'll get into talking about the match in a second.
Okay.
Like a couple of days before this, Johnny Gargano was basically went out to throw the pitch for the first pitch for a Cleveland Indians game because he's from Cleveland, like the Miz. And they had a picture of him. We're so far behind. So far behind. I'm sure I'm not spoiling it to anyone to tell you that Johnny Gargano won, but they had a picture of him with not the title that he has now, the NXT World title. With the United States champion when he had it, championship when he had it, and then it had his name, Johnny Gargano, and then underneath it said WCW Triple Crown winner. Jesus fucking Christ. Cleveland.
Oh man, was that a rib or just a really bad fuck up?
No, it's just a really bad fuck up.
Oh,
because whoever decided to make that graphic didn't bother to check. But it was, as you said, it was WCW Triple Crown winner Johnny Gargano versus Adam Cole, baby, in a 2 out of 3 falls match.
Oh no.
Oh no, is right. Like,
oh Jeebus, why?
Oh wait, did you find the picture?
No, but I saw it on our we have a wrestling group that we're both on.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's where I got it.
That's why I asked you to fill me in on why they said WCW. I thought that was like a legit thing that was happening, not a
No. Here's what it actually is. You know how my theory that Brian Kendrick is actually a displaced time dragon? Johnny Gargano is actually with Brian Kendrick has traveled through time, and he actually went back to WCW. He won the tag belts with, I want to say, Van Hammer. He won the U.S. title, I want to say, off of Jim Duggan back in the days. It was kind of off camera, though. It was during the time of WCW where the U.S. belt was just in the trash for 6 months.
WCCW?
No, it was WCW. It was regular WCW. And then it was not very well known, but after the last Nitro, he and Booker T had a match in Stevie Richards' basement, and he won, and he was WCW champion for about a week, and then it switched back, and it's only recently been recognized that Johnny Gargano was the Triple Crown champion, even the WCW had 2 other singles titles, which he would have been eligible for.
Okay.
Time travel not aside, this was a fucking phenomenal match. And whenever we have a 2 out of 3 falls match, we at least on the main roster, the problem comes in is that they don't know how to do the main roster matches on the main roster. They basically just do a 2 out of 3 falls match, but they condense it into the time of one fall. That wasn't this. This was like a good 30, 45 minutes back and forth.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Adam hit the last shot to get the first one. Gargano put Adam in the Gargano escape for the second one. Man, I really thought for half a second that they were going to let Cole sneak away with that, and they were going to make Johnny chase after that title again with Cole when the Undisputed Era came out.
Yeah, that's what we thought. That was GG with that right then and there, but it was not the case. I just the fact that Adam Cole and Johnny Gargano also put on an A-list show is another big point of why that it was a very good match in general. And I don't know about you, but the music that Johnny Gargano comes out with was so rectifiably exciting to hear when he won the belt, because it sounded like it belonged to one of those great endings to a movie kind of situation.
Yeah.
It's just such an upbeat song.
Oh, I love Johnny Gargano's song. I actually riffed it for one of my D&D characters because, like, one of this particular character is just the penny real dumb baby face, and that's exactly what Johnny Gargano is. He's the ultimate dumb baby face. But the best part about the night was after he had won, after Candice LeRae had come out, and did you see the table for three? The Raw after that aired the Raw after WrestleMania. Actually, with Gargano, Ricochet.
I haven't seen a bunch of those yet.
And Cole, they sat there and they said, "It's like, man, whenever that at the end of that pay-per-view comes up and the camera's still rolling and you see that little thing come up, something's about to go down. Always beware of it." They were joking about the fact that usually in NXT, when the little credit plate comes up down at the bottom, it usually means something bad's about to happen to you at the end of NXT. And then, sure enough, that little credit plate comes up and they're celebrating. And who saunters out? But Tommaso Ciampa himself. Now, granted, he wasn't going to do shit because he had just had freaking...
Yeah, he broke his neck.
Yeah, he had some bad stuff in his neck. But came out. It was their moment. I'm happy. I would have loved to have seen the end to it. The fairy tale ending to Gargano versus Ciampa, but of course his health comes first. This was a good secondary prize, and overall the best pay-per-view of the weekend. One, because it was not 7.5 hours long.
True.
Man, all these people who are complaining that that Endgame is, Endgame's going to be 3 hours long. Dude, don't even get me started. But I mean, if we were, this is an A+ pay-per-view. I'm sure that's not going to surprise anyone. The downside of it was the women's match, but it was less to do with the effort the women's put in and just how freaking predictable this formula's become with them. I mean, they have to put 3 people in there to make Baszler interesting at this point. And everything else was just aces. Walter and Dunn was aces. Dream and Riddle was aces. The War Raiders and Black, was aces who, for some reason, now they're all on the main roster. The Viking Raiders, the Viking Experience, the Viking Warriors apparently is now going to be their new name next week. I'm actually not joking. I'm actually not joking about that.
Could we stop, please?
We cannot stop. We cannot stop because we've got to keep going because there was, of course, the big event, WrestleMania. Now, we're not going to talk about everything. We're not going to even, it's not even worth even bringing up the pre-cook, except to mention that Hawkins broke his losing streak and he and Ryder won the tag titles from the Revival.
That's a big deal,
I just wish they didn't victimize the Revival to do it.
I guess I can agree with that.
The Revival deserve better. Forever. The Revival.
I could agree with that. 100%.
I will.
It's still slamming though.
We're mostly just going to bring up the big points of the night, which of course,
is where we're talking about WrestleMania now at this point, which was super fun for me. I enjoyed WrestleMania this year.
I went into this, and if you remember, it was either the last podcast or it was the last podcast where I ended the podcast with that like long soliloquy where I don't trust the WWE. You haven't earned my trust back. Trusting you has gotten me 5 years of Brock and Roman, like, and all of that stuff. And I still don't trust them, but they proved me wrong in a lot of ways. I was happy to be proven wrong. As I've said, I don't like being Mr. Negative, and
at least all the time.
But at least for this one moment, for this one event, they knew they had to come out swinging aces. They couldn't pull the crap they did last year, and they did. And they started off hot with Paul Heyman interrupting a segment with Alexa Bliss and Hulk Hogan to come out and declare that, well, if they weren't going to be the main event, then fuck it. We're just going to get it done now so we can leave.
We're not going to wait for this shit. I thought that was brilliant.
I thought it was too. I was like the moment Heyman came out, I was like, oh, is this shit going down now? And it was, and goddamn.
You know what amused me, though? You know what amused me, though, is that there was so many people complaining about how this was the first match.
Yeah,
in my mind, I was like, how could it not be the first match?
Like, it's it was so perfectly done. Like, and like for a little bit there, it's like, oh, here we go with the squash. Fuck.
Yeah.
But it wasn't long.
Nope.
It was a bunch of suplexes, followed by a low blow, followed by 1, 2, 3, 4 curb stomps, and pin your winner and new Universal Champion, Seth freaking Rollins.
I thought that was brilliant.
It was. I thought it was a master stroke. Get one of them out of the way. Let's see. What else can we talk about here?
Well, I still think it was brilliant that they actually had a first time ever defending triple threat women's tag match that had quite an upset for me to see that
quadruple.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It was quadruple. And it's unreal how unprecedented it was to see that kind of upset at the end. I mean, the match was explosive. It was actually a very good match. It had a lot to go on with a lot of people in the ring. So a lot of times that kind of rattles with you about why it was so much going on. It could be a mess. It was.
We got Beth Phoenix back.
Yeah, but I don't think it's forever. I think that was just for that, right?
No, but I mean, we still got Beth Phoenix back. We got Beth and Natty together.
Yeah, we did get the Glamazon
for a little bit.
And it was great. I thought it was perfect in a lot of ways because it was able to, give a little bit of a throwback, which is what Wrestlemania is always about. Always bringing some of the old superstars back to do something fun. This was one of those shining moments, especially since Beth Phoenix is a fantastic old OG wrestler. I also really liked how the change up, because also the winner of that match was not what was supposed to be expected. And I found out some news, too. First, the winners were the Iconics, which was a huge upset. Nobody was expecting it.
I didn't see that coming. I didn't see that coming at all.
We also, personally, for me, I didn't find that a big deal. Like, I was like, oh, that's great. We have a little bit of a change up. It's going to shake it up a little bit. Awesome. Maybe something happened. But I just recently found out some news that didn't make me feel too well about the outcome. And that is that Sasha and Bayley were told literally before the gorilla stand position they were losing the titles.
Yeah, there's a lot going on with that. Sasha apparently is threatening to sit out the rest of her contract over this. They were promised a long reign. So apparently the timeline, as I understand it, is they found out when they got there that they were going to be dropping the tag titles. And then
what I heard, it was the gorilla position.
I heard it was a little bit before the gorilla position, but then I heard like somewhere also towards match time, they also found out that they were being split up.
Yeah.
On top of all of that,
which is fine. I'd rather them not be tag. I'd rather them be back in their singles position. Bayley is a fantastic wrestler. Sasha's been getting sloppy. I don't know if that's a protest, but Bayley has always been consistent for me, and I'm really happy that she's back in the singles game, even though she got destroyed the night after by Alexa Bliss.
I really kind of wish, I can understand where they're coming from if they were promised a long tag reign to establish the belts.
Mm-hmm.
And while I'm not in her situation, but I mean, I can understand Sasha being upset at this point. She wins titles to lose them, and I know everyone wins a title to lose them, but she loses them in very short order. I think she's had one successful title defense throughout her entire tenure.
You talking about Bailey or Sasha?
Yeah, I'm talking about Sasha. Yeah.
Yeah, Sasha's a one turn, like, one step. She's unfortunately considered a paper champion in this case by all technical standards.
And I mean, they've booked her into oblivion, and I don't blame her for being a little bit upset.
Mm.
But your winners, the Iconics. Now, we do need to go back a second because we do need to talk about the match that happened just before that, which was The Miz and Shane McMahon.
Oh yeah, that was great. That was a good highlight moment too.
Fun. Shane won, which was kind of a surprise, but I can get why he won because Miz really didn't need to win here.
You're right.
Miz is on fucking fire. I hope that this starts going in because, as somebody pointed out, as I saw after WrestleMania, somebody pointed out, somebody just juxtaposed that talking smack, the talking smack where Daniel Bryant is that you're a coward.
Yeah, and
you wrestle like a coward. Then,
yeah.
and then they juxtapose that against Miz suplexing like freaking Shane off the top of that scaffolding, and pointed out, it's like, what do you think that Daniel Bryant's words was in his head when he did that? I was like, yeah, I bet he is. It was. I mean, I've completely come around on the Miz.
I've always loved the Miz, even when he was the heels A-lister, down to even this current babyface that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is literally the Miz's career tip. I think this is. I mean, he when he won the belt many years ago, that wasn't the tip of his that wasn't his Everest. That was just a stepping stone. Right now, what he's got going on is the top of the crop, my man. He is on a fantastic reality show. I love the Miz and Mrs. That is a funny show to watch. 20,000 times better than Diva. What do you call it? Total Divas or Total Bellas, which I don't even think Total Bellas exists anymore. I'm not even sure. Miz and Mrs. is just genuine. There's an actual genuine relationship, by the way, too, because Maurice and him chemistry up the ass with utmost exuberance. Fun watch together all the time. He's showed that he can actually pull an actual match together. He's proven that he is consistent. He's also a safe wrestler to work with. Everyone commemorates him to work in the ring with him because he never takes chances on the wrestler's health. Where in a good way. I mean,
he's a Bret Hart in that. He's a Bret Hart in that. Bret Hart never hurt anyone, and I don't think the Miz has ever hurt. Miz has been hurt, but I don't think the Miz has ever hurt anyone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but we're not talking about major hurt either. He's been very safe in the ring too.
Yeah, like most of the things, like I remember the Money in the Bank where he dislocated his knee, and I remember his title match at WrestleMania 10 years previous to this, where John Cena knocked him out, basically concussed him with a spear.
Yeah.
But I mean, this was a great match. It was a fun brawl. The Miz's dad got into it. The Miz's dad got memed for getting in the ring and getting ready to throw bones with Shane. All around a fun match.
Yeah, I thought it was quite an exciting show. And I mean that we're talking about just a few good things. I mean, it's also nice to see a WrestleMania where Roman Reigns wasn't booed left and right for competing. Granted, it wasn't for a title; it was just a feud between him and Drew McIntyre, which was actually pretty good when it comes to even leading up to it. It was actually quite exciting to see that. But we all need to talk about the big one, the two big things that happened that night that were well worth its time, and that was the title match between Coffey and Daniel Bryan, and the main event for the very first time in WrestleMania, an all-women's main event triple threat winner take all for both women's titles with Ronda Rousey, Charlotte Flair, and Becky fucking Lynch. All straights.
Let's talk about Kofi and D-Bry first.
Yes.
This, when Seth won, I thought I had the writing on the wall here. And man, this was a really great match. Especially if you go watch this match in comparison to the match with Orton and Batista and Bryan from WrestleMania 30. Like, it was just up and down, left and right. A lot of, D-Bry doing his heel stick. And, I even said it at the time. When the New Day came out and they had that little gift there, and like Big E was like, oh no, this comes later. And it's like, ah, shit. He's losing. He's losing. Or somebody's about to turn on him. And the story was just so, the entirety of the story, which I wasn't seeing it now as a whole. I like it better. I didn't like it at the last pay-per-view for the obvious reasons. I didn't like the burial, but then I didn't like the build-up. I didn't like the build-up at first from that pay-per-view. The whole gauntlet match just to have Daniel Bryan screw him over at the end just ticked me off the wrong way. But when they went the week after that and they had Big E and Woods, go through a gauntlet and get him into the match, getting them involved to neutralizing Rowan, and then just that 1, 2, 3, and just the eruption through the entire arena. It was just, that's what dreams are made of, and not just for anyone. I understand what that means to a whole segment of people, that representation matters, and seeing Kofi get there, not just by himself, but with the New Day. They didn't break him up. They didn't break him. They didn't tear him apart to do like a singles run. They did it together along the ride with their brother. They've said it for years. That if it ever came down to it in a Royal Rumble and it was the three of them and one of them was going to get the title, that Big E and Woods were just going to step over the ropes because Kofi deserved it. And they made that into a storyline and expanded that to the entire locker room, because you saw all of the people in the back, like sitting there watching on the monitors, all the other wrestlers celebrating with them. It was a real feel-good moment, I thought. It was great. Kofi's kids got in the ring. Poor Woods was bawling his eyes out when they took the belt that you hate so much, the planet's belt. The belt that is here to save the planet that D-Bry made so that he could save all of you. And they tossed it aside to show not just the OG World Championship, but already with Kofi's plates on it. That entire thing was sequence, and I have to say, honestly, well done, WWE. You got it right. So, I mean, that was probably the highlight of the night for me.
I agree, and before we talk about the women's match, which was one of my favorites too, I found a few points that I thought was pretty cool. One, that this was one of those WrestleMania 30 underdog winning the title moments, and it was Daniel Bryan, the one who got the WrestleMania 30, to hand it off to Kofi this year. I thought that was a great situation. But you mentioned something that I just realized. What?
Did you catch in the promo right before WrestleMania on the SmackDown on the Go Home SmackDown show when they had the signing in the ring? And Kofi was sitting there looking across from Daniel Bryan. It's like, you're scared of this. You know what this is. You know what this does. And what scares you the most is what comes next. Referencing how the Yes movement, what happened, and now the Kofi movement was happening, and there was nothing he could do. I thought that was a very cool touch.
Yeah. I agree.
What were you about to say? I'm sorry.
No, the one thing that doesn't count towards the two things that we're talking about now. One thing I definitely wanted to point out was the hilariousness of the fact that Triple H needs to continue having matches at WrestleMania, and this year's was Batista. The build-up was better than the match, and even Batista can't even.
I don't know. That match was brutal, man. When he had those needle nose pliers with the nose ring,
That was fake as hell, though. Like,
it was
horribly
fake as hell, but I mean, just like,
I watched too much horror movies to like be suspended. But what made me laugh the most is the very first thing Batista does, and that's trip on himself, getting himself into the ring. I'm like, man, did you even practice? Are we doing this straight from what you remembered? What is going on? But that's all we want to talk about because that match was just not enough for me. I bought that women's
but it was and we should at least point this out. It was Big Dave's swan song.
Yeah, well, he wanted something to happen between what's going on and everything. So yeah, I
mean, he retired the day after. He said that, you know, he gave all he had to give. He left it out there in the ring, and now it's done. And you know, for everything, I think it's worth saying that, you know, Big Dave's done well for himself, and he's turned, like, he's come a long way from being Leviathan all the way back in Ohio Valley. He's come a long way from being Deacon Batista to Reverend Devon, and you know.
You know what I'm really looking forward to, because they're all becoming huge stars in Hollywood. I would like to see a movie that actually has The Rock, John Cena, and Batista in one movie.
That'd be crazy.
Just to see the fact that these are former WWE superstars.
Maybe throw Stone Cold and Goldberg in there as well, as like kind of like a Wrestling Expendables type game, type movie.
The unelbowables.
So let's get to the main event here. And I have an actual story to tell before we start talking about the match itself. So This WrestleMania was ridiculously long, and I was watching along with Best and Mims. We actually lost power, and we watched half of the show on Veston's phone because lightning had hit like the one of the poles and taken out the internet.
WrestleMania fans
and we were trying to get to the end, but you know, we kept being like, oh no, wait, we've got this match left. And then, you know, there was like, and then there was like Corbin and Angle. And then there was like, oh crap, I forgot, Balor and freaking Lashley for the Intercontinental Championship. Finally, Mims had to say, look guys, I want to stay to the end, but I got to go to bed. And it was like, that's cool. I'll go ahead and I'll bounce on out of here. When I left was when they were first starting to show the promo package, and I kind of put it on my phone. I got home from Mims and Vests before Becky Lynch hit the ring.
That's how long
That is how long the promo package, the freaking helicopter package, which was a throwback to Ric Flair, was. Ronda coming in with Joan Jett playing her in, Charlotte coming in, and then Becky. I got home just in time for Becky to get in the ring. And then I got to see the entire match. And wow, man, it was history. No, you could throw some criticisms that way, especially about that end there. But I mean, it was a hard-hitting match. The story of the match was the two of them were going to go after Ronda because Ronda's the baddest woman on the planet. Somewhere in there, Ronda broke her hand.
Something like that.
Things went ballistic. As I understand it, Ronda was supposed to kick out, and Becky was supposed to win with the disarmer on Charlotte, but that's not what happened. Becky went for a crucifix. Ronda couldn't get her shoulder up in time, and 1, 2, 3, your winner and new Raw Women's Universal and SmackDown's World Heavyweight Women's Champion, Becky Lynch. And this was the only way this was ever going to end. We knew it, but I was okay with it. I was okay with it because it was the right move. And that's really what you can say about WrestleMania 35 in general, right?
I would agree.
It was the right move. It was long as shit, but it was the right move. Like, even the losses, I could understand. They needed some surprise and sizzle, so I get the Iconics. I get Shane winning. You know, I get that stuff. I'm not mad at it. I get the burial that Samoa Joe did to Rey Mysterio. I get all of that, but like when it came to the stuff that counted, the real moments that counted, they got it right on all. I mean, what was the thing that we kept saying? Do you honestly believe Seth Rollins, Kofi Kingston, and Becky Lynch are all walking out with title wins?
No, yeah, this was a huge upset.
And what happened? Seth Rollins, Becky Lynch, and Kofi Kingston walked out. As a matter of fact,
I think only one title retained, and that was Samoa Joe.
Samoa Joe retained, and the Usos retained.
And I don't think the Intercontinental title was even on the line.
Yes, it was. Ben Balor won the Intercontinental Champion from Lashley.
Oh, that's right. That's right. That was a takeover. I thought he already had the title by then. No, my
bad.
So yes, Usos retained, and so technically the SmackDown Tag and the SmackDown United States at the time retained.
Yes, SmackDown was the only brand to retain.
Yeah.
Well, we do need to point out like one other little side note. It's actually fairly possible that we've not only seen the end of the Bar, but seen the end of Sheamus.
Yeah, I just pointed that out over a half a year ago that he was ending his career soon. He's got the situation with his neck, like Stone Cold.
Yeah, he's got bad stenosis in his neck, and I'm glad they were able to stretch it out, and the Bar was able to give Sheamus a longer run. I don't know what he's going to do next, but I mean, hey, it was very entertaining.
He has been in movies already, so maybe that's his next step.
And so that brings us to the end of the recapping.
Mm-hmm.
Which brings us to something else we've got to talk about here. And I'm going to go ahead, and I know this isn't really what we usually do, but nothing about this particular show tonight has been what we usually do.
First things first, I just want to say that my name is Joseph, and that's Chris over there. And we wanted to let you know that we've come to a decision. In this case, our decision is that this will be our last Off the Ropes podcast. It wasn't an easy one, which is why it took a little longer than normal to get this WrestleMania set up for us. But it was important to make this decision seriously before we went on, because we wanted to do this without being a random video about it either. We wanted to put it together so that way we can have a good time about talking about WrestleMania and some of the fun stuff, and then get to this part of our segments. That way we can really talk about how much this has really changed us in the last 5 years being together doing this. I knew Chris from a job that we worked together on that allows us to be on the computer all the time. So we met each other, even though we're not from the same state. We got to get to know each other a lot better as we came in together at the same time at this company we work for. And it was just one of those things that just evolved into what's happening here. And it's continuing to evolve because a lot of our outside of this life, when it comes to our personal life, our career lives, they're changing constantly, making it a little harder for us to line up together when it comes to getting this going. And big plans are heading for both of us. And we felt that this was our best time to just end it on the one extra pay-per-view before the very first one that we did way back 5 years ago with WrestleMania 31. We talked about Fastlane. That was the last one we saw. That was the first pay-per-view we talked about before we started the big one. So we felt it was more fitting to do it with the big one to end it here. And
Fastlane was a
wild ride.
Fastlane was the pilot to see if we could even pull this off.
Yeah, pull it off. Oh boy, pull it off.
Hey, you want to know another fun fact? By the time this podcast that we're doing here is done, this is going to be the first podcast in over a year and a half. It's going to come in under an hour.
Oh my god!
We
finally did it.
Even with the reshoot.
Finally, and he's not kidding, folks. We were trying to get on video to do a eye to eye scenario where we got to say goodbye to everyone here. But of course, in its grandest of all grandnesses,
Skype screwed us.
Yep, we have a bellowing echo of metallic pseudoscience kind of voices doing it. So we're going back to our old school, our traditional method of talking to you guys off camera with our logo here,
Yeah.
to talk about how this has just been one amazing trip. I've learned so much just by doing this because I never did a podcast. I have never co-hosted with anybody. I've never had a partnership that allowed us to be creative and think about what the next move is, like this podcast. So this has been a big deal for me to even be part of it, and I can't thank Chris more than enough on how he was so welcoming to do a lot of the brunt work, get this started, do everything from his home right now as we speak. From day one has been an amazing one. So Chris, thank you so much for
Oh,
just even
totally.
having this happen.
Hey, I learned a lot too. I learned how to space out a show. I've had to do quite a few edits on the fly for some of the weird things that have come up while we've been recording this. And for those of you who are asking, yes, every time you heard something open, it really was beer. I actually, it's funny because when people would ask me about the show, they would ask me what it is. It's like, it's just really a really fun excuse for me to talk wrestling with my boy and get drunk while doing it.
But not drunk in a happy way. It's more like a drunk to forget way.
Well, that's because of Randall Q. Orton, the reason why my liver it has been transplanted twice. But I mean, in general, and we do want to also give a shout out to Best and Mr. BMG who've co-hosted. We appreciated them stepping in when we needed something, and they both took it as seriously as we did, and came prepared, came ready to go. Absolutely top-notch fans / friends of the show. I mean, wow! I've literally learned how to audio edit and to video edit through this show, and to actually produce an hour long show with some of our longer ones. I would be remiss if I didn't at least point out one last time that L'Ariel loves the J.
I'm never gonna not miss that. It is
L2J, L2J, L2J.
I you know what though? I have to say I had a Deadpool for you just to see how many days out from L2J that she was gonna come and find you and kill you like the dead dog you are in this case.
Actually, funny story.
So far, knock on wood, you're still alive.
Funny story. She actually this past week asked me about what it takes to get a podcast going. So she's looking to do a podcast on something sometime soon, and of course, we'll be there rooting for you, L'Ariel.
Make sure your first guest is Chris Jericho, though. He'd love to be on your show.
I mean, she practically lives with him at this point. But really, we also want to thank all of you guys who have come along with this ride for us. Those of you who have listened to all of our shows, those of you who have talked to us about all of our shows, it really has been something super cool. And hopefully we have made you laugh. Hopefully you've enjoyed our little crazy ramblings, and hopefully you had as much fun as we did, because we had a lot of fun. Maybe not the Punjabi prison match, but we had a lot of fun doing this, and hopefully that showed to you guys. And there's not really much else to say at this point.
Well, I could tell you this much. I'm going to miss a lot of the fun segments we had. Some of our shows had the open segments that you and I did as a skit, like our cold openings with a couple of those things.
All right, back when the cameras wanted to work.
Yep, LTJ was a funny one for me. I will forever always love our ongoing class action lawsuit against the WWE for owing us money for ideas that clearly we invented.
So much money.
we clearly called all the marks, and they still use them, so they still owe us money. I really appreciate anyone who commented about my back history with Pappy Snuka and the parts from Unknown. That was always fun to do.
Oh man, what's Jackie gonna do now that we're done with the show?
Oh man, Jackie, get off one. Back over here. God damn it, she doesn't want to be on anymore. She's retired.
She quit. She quit on us.
She retired months ago, and I now just found the letter. God damn it, man, Jackie.
Who's been setting up your
Jackie
equipment then?
Jackie, if you can hear me, you will always be the founding father of Jimmy and Jey Uso.
I didn't know where you were going with that. I was trying to figure it out. Okay.
No, I just wanted to pull off the Kane persona one more time with the crazy antics. Trish Stratus. Oh man, that was my favorites too. Yeah. We're gonna have we had some great. If anyone hasn't noticed, we genuinely had a great time here, and this was not a easy decision. And it's just it. But I do want to assure everyone here that me and Chris are always gonna be bros. And if something wild and fun comes up again, and we're like, let's bring the band back together for something a little different or completely different. We have so much in common. We talk so much about other things that this is not the conclusion of our enterprise of fun and in the sun. This is just a chapter that we're closing for now to a book known as Off the Ropes.
And if we do anything in the future, we will of course keep you appraised. Who knows? We might do some one-offs here and there. Like you said, just to bring the band back together. Maybe something around October or around October when SmackDown goes to Fox, or maybe something around the time that AEW hits for the first time on TNT.
Who knows?
We'll see. But just in case you're wondering, for the last time, I am at Faded Saint.
Yep.
On the Twitter. I am commiesaint@tumblr.com. If you have any questions, if you just want to tell us how much you love the show, or anything,
or for the fans out there that could be our new fans, because everyone loves to binge watch a show that's no longer in season anymore. That's how I got to catch up on shows that I never got to watch ever.
You know what? This show lasted longer than limited series.
That's because you and I had good chemistry.
Well, we had good chemistry, and nobody can cancel us except us.
Only us can put the trigger to our heads. And we do.
But really, thanks for doing this with me, Joe. It meant a lot.
Yeah. Chris is super, super unreal how this can exist. And one day, you and I, I'm gonna try the home brews that you have in front of you in person in New Orleans one day. We're gonna do this.
Totally.
Joe and Chris, 2020.
Something like that. But at any rate, for the last time, I'm your boy, Kami the Faded Saint. That is my boy, Kane Super What Snuka saying, we'll see you in space, cowboy. Somewhere, somehow.
Later for now, folks.